Hi there, and thanks so much for joining me for another video. I'm Erin Eno, and today we're going to be painting this bearded iris. When I was looking at pictures of irises, I saw a lot of blue and deep red, but this orange really caught my eye, so I thought I would give it a try. So grab your paints and let's get started. So to start, I'll just run through my materials for you. Today I'm going to use my Baohong Academy cold press watercolor paper. It's 140 pound, 100% cotton. I'm using a size roughly 5 by 7.5-ish. I have my Royal Talons Van Gogh paints in my palette, a jar of water, paper towel, and I have 3 brushes today. I have 2 Curry's store brand brushes, one in a size 10 round in their 2500 series and one in a size 6 round in their 2400 series. I also have a size 0 Princeton snap on hand for any fine detail work if I feel like I want to throw that in. Now, I'm not sure, this flower may turn out to be what we'll call loose or semi-loose. I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. Okay, so first to start, I'm going to take some Azo Yellow Medium and put it in my well here. And then I'm going to add in a bit of orange. Actually, sorry, it's not orange. It's cadmium red light, but it really is kind of like an orangey color. Okay, so I'll just keep some of that there. And I'm going to start with more yellow than orange. I'm just going to put a little bit of that cadmium red light in there. Okay, and I'm going to start off with medium wash. And we'll start with one main petal that's going to kind of hang down. This would be like the bearded part of the iris, I guess. And you can just do all squiggly kind of edges to the petal, okay, because they're all kind of curly and wavy and whatnot. So you don't have to fuss too much. Just wiggle your brush around like so. Okay, and I'm just going to take some of that pigment off my brush and just spread it around in that shape that we just made for the petal. Okay, then I'm going to just tap off the excess water off my brush and go in with a little bit more orange than yellow this time. And we're just going to kind of tap, just hold my brush right upright at a 90-degree angle to the paper, and I'm just going to tap around the edges and just let it go where it wants to go. Just like that. Okay, now there's a big petal that a clump of big petals that come off the top, but I don't want to throw those in right now. I want to wait till this dries a little bit. So we're going to do the same thing and do another petal off to the right of this petal, and it's the same thing. It's going to be kind of wavy, and it's going to kind of curl down around this one, kind of hanging down. And you have a bit of leeway with the shape of these petals, okay? So you don't have to, be too fussy with them. Just make sure that you kind of curl it in so it looks like it's coming out from this center here, okay? And I'll just spread that around. Then I'll do the same thing. I'll tap off the excess off my brush. I don't need to clean it off. It's okay if it's got some yellow on there. And I'm going to do the same thing. Just tap some around the outer edges. And because it's kind of coming out from this center, you can always put a little more in this corner here, this inside tip. Now you can even go in and tap in a bit of straight orange. I can even do that to this guy down here, just to get some more kind of color variation going on. Just like that. May have been a little heavy-handed on this one, but that's okay. Then we're going to go and do another one to the left side of this guy. And because these, I can kind of touch this petal if I want to make it look like they're closer together, but I'm going to leave white space because I don't want to have to wait for this to dry. I want to keep this kind of loose, loosey-goosey, and again, curly and crinkly edges. These petals kind of like crinkle and wave and kind of fold and stuff, so that's why I say you have a lot of leeway with them. So I just cleaned off my brush, got off some excess pigment, and I'm just going to spread this yellow around like we did before. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to get a little bit more of that yellowy orange color first. I don't want to go to straight orange yet. Tap off the excess, and again, go around the edge. And you can kind of just tap it in wherever you want now, just to get a little interest going. You can even tap it in here and then clean off your brush, tap it off on your paper towel, and pick up some pigment there to make it look like it's kind of curled over. We can maybe go in and put a more defined edge on that to make it look like a curled petal. And again, you can go in with the orange right in the corner, maybe some down the side here, some on the tips. This guy's not bleeding all that well over here, so I'm just going to go in and kind of soften these edges. Okay. And then while it's wet, I don't know if this one's wet enough. This one might not be wet enough, but I'm going to kind of drag the back end of my brush in long, kind of wavy strokes, just to get some veins in the petal, because that's kind of key to an iris, I think. This one, just come down here. I should be using maybe a smaller brush with a smaller handle on it. And this one, we'll do the same thing. Just like that. Okay, so now we're going to want to do the main flower head at the top and then have some petals coming out the side of that. So I'm going to start with, I think, the main guy. So again, we'll get that yellowy orange kind of color, a little bit of a wash. And remember, just do these kind of crinkly, a little bit more than that, crinkly kind of edges. Maybe not quite that much pigment. I'll spread that around. Put a little bit of orange in there. It's almost a little too yellow. A little too yellow. Okay, and I'm going to bring it down to the bottom here. I'm not going to quite touch that because it's possibly still a little wet. Okay, again, the crinkly edges, like so. And I'm going to make this look like two petals kind of wrapping around each other. Later, we'll put some more definition in that. And again, I'll go and get some of that orange, or cadmium red light rather, sorry. Just get a bit of that on the tip of my brush, and again, go around the edges. You can even come in here a little bit just to get that shape. That's kind of where I want it to look like it's another petal kind of folding around. Okay. And we can get pretty deep with the color down towards the bottom. I'm going to pick a little bit of it up though here, because I do want it to have a slight kind of highlight there. And then I think I'm going to take some Madder Lake Deep is what I have here. Now that's pretty potent, so I don't want to go crazy with that. So I'm going to water it down a little bit. And I'm going to take my number 5 or 6 brush rather. And I'm going to add, I can barely talk. I'm going to add a little bit of orange to that, or I'll just keep calling it orange, and you know it's permanent red light. Okay, and I'm going to tap some in to the bottom here. And even just a little bit on that edge there. Maybe didn't want it coming in that much. Pick that up. And this is going to look like the center where all these petals are coming out of. Okay. Can come up a little bit. Just like that. Maybe go in with the straight Madder Lake Deep here. And then I'm going to switch to my size 0 brush. And I'm going to start off, because I think I just want to see what happens if I take this red and drag it down with the back of my brush. Just like that. See if I can get some of those nice veins on there. Now I'll just take, well, helps if I wet my brush. With the slightest hand, I just want to put some little, tiny little veins. I apologize if my hand's in the way. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to drag some of that down. Then I'm going to go back in and tap in a little bit more just to make it a little bit deeper. Then I think I will add some shading to this. I'm going to take some raw umber, just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to add it into that red, the reddy orange mix that we have, and just tap a little bit of it in there just to get some depth. Just like that. And I'm going to rinse off my brush a little bit, keep some of that darker pigment on there, and just put some here. Whoops, that faded out a little more. Just going to put some here to add some shading there. And I think here as well, just to make it look like it's really coming in from the middle center part of that flower. And you can rinse and tap off the excess water and just kind of soften that edge a bit. While this is still wet, I'm going to add some veining to this one too. So I'll just drag the handle of my brush through again. Okay. And I'm going to rinse off my brush and just kind of push some of this red down. Just what makes that center the really dark part. Okay, now this is where I wanted to make this petal look like it's folding over itself, or folding over the other petal rather. So I'm just going to take some of that orange and just draw a more prominent line here. So it kind of looks like the shadow. Maybe I'll even add in some of that raw umber and Madder Lake Deep, just like that. Okay, and you can even soften that. I'm just rinsing off my brush and kind of blending that out. I think that works. And this one I wanted to make look like it's kind of curled over as well. So I'm going to take the raw umber and a bit of that yellow and the permanent red deep and just do like a ruffled kind of edge here. Just like that. So it kind of looks like it's curled over. I hope that's what it looks like. That was the goal. So I'll just add a little more shading towards the center there. Okay, and we can soften up this outside edge of the shadow. And I've kind of lost the veining on there, so I'm just going to go in, try to be really careful here. Just add a little bit of that red to the orange and see if I can just do a few light veins down this guy. Maybe some on that one. I don't want to spend all day on that. No, I don't. Now all that's left are just a couple petals coming out of the top there. So I'm going to go back to that Azo Yellow Medium and some of the Permanent Red Light and just take a lighter wash and just, maybe not that light a wash, and come up here and do another kind of squiggly petal coming out of here. And it can kind of hang down a bit. Okay, you don't need to worry about it too much. Just going to spread that around, maybe make this a little bigger even. Maybe have it hang down a bit. And we'll do the same thing, go into the heavier orange and just tap. I should have used a smaller brush. That's okay. And we'll do one more leaf on the other side. I just said leaf. I hope you know I meant petal. And we'll do another squiggly petal. I think this is pretty dry, so I'm going to come right up to the edge so it looks like it's peeking out. Okay, so you see I'm just kind of wiggling my brush to get this kind of crinkly edge. And again, just rinsing my brush off a bit and just smushing this pigment around. I'm going to switch to my 0 and go into that Permanent Red Light and just tap. Actually, I'm not tapping, I'm dragging my brush along the outside edge to get that color in there. Again, and go deeper where it comes behind the flower. Again, here too. Maybe even some of that Madder Lake Deep again. And I'm just using my number 0 because it doesn't hold a lot of water, so it's not going to flood my flower with red too much. Then again, I'm going to take the back of my brush and just try to get some veins in here. I like this technique to get veining because you can go in while it's still wet and not worry about, you know, going in there with too much paint and having it bleed on you and go crazy. Because that middle petal is dry, I can do it with paint here. And see, I shouldn't have, because that was way too much. Actually, I'm just going to leave it soft like that. I don't mind that. That kind of worked. Happy accident. I'm going to take some of that raw umber again and the Madder Lake Deep and just go right to the very inside here, just to get some real depth in there. Maybe some there too, here. And then I'm just going in with a clean, damp brush and just kind of softening that around. And I think that's it. So I wanted to add a bud to this painting as well. So I'm going to take my size 6 and go in with the orangey yellow again. I guess because it's not open, it might be even darker. And I'm just going to do a bud over here. Now the buds are really kind of pointy and cone shaped. And they're kind of like all wrapped around each other, like wrapped around itself. So I'm going to just do a, actually I'll rinse off my brush a bit. Just do a cone, pointy cone kind of. Just like that. Then it would be a little, just a little lighter down there. And then we're going to let that dry and we can put some green around it. I'm going to make it just a little bit wider. Okay, and then while that's drying, we can just go in and put in a stem and some leaves. So I'm going to use sap green and I think a bit of olive green to give it a little hit of yellow and to knock down that brightness of the sap green. I think that's fine. And I'm just going to do one. I'm going to turn my board actually. Just going to do one stem straight up. And then for the leaves aren't really interesting on these flowers. So they're just kind of spiky, long and spiky. And we'll just have those kind of go off the edge of the page like that. I don't want to ruin my flower. I should be using a brush that holds more water. I'm going to see if I can kind of come up to that petal and do a leaf that's behind it. So it would come up to about here. Why not? Let's be brave. Don't ruin it. Aha, that worked okay. Don't play with it. you'll mess it up. Oh, that guy too. He's looking really flat. He's also looking really short. I'm just going to curve it off a bit. I'm not happy I put too many leaves down there, but I can't really pick them up now. And I think this one's dry enough that we can go in and do that stem for that one. And maybe what I'll do is I'll have it go over this one. So I'm going to come up to that bud. Then I'm going to rinse off my brush. Just take a little bit of that raw umber. Did I call it burnt umber before? I may have. And I'm just going to bring that up. Like it's wrapped around that bud. Because that's how they grow. The flower kind of twists out of it. And then I'm going to take some more of the orange and just add a little shape to that bud. I can't tell you how unhappy I am with the leaves because everything looks like it's way off to the left side. So I'm going to probably ruin it even worse than I did before with the leaves, but I'm going to put one just coming out over here. And I have officially done too many leaves. Or not. You be the judge. So officially too many leaves and the whole thing is off center, but the actual flower I'm actually kind of happy with. So let's get it off this board and have a look. And there you go. There is your finished bearded iris. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you found it helpful. And as always, if you give this a try and you're on Instagram, don't forget to share and tag me so I can have a look. Thanks so much for stopping by. Take care, and I will see you next time.